First reading, a reading from the letter of Paul to the Romans. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that you may abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. I myself am convinced about you, my brothers and sisters, that you yourself are full of goodness, filled with all knowledge and able to admonish one another.
Humble servant of the Lord, your holy life of sacrifice led you to serve the Lord Most High. Saint Josef Freinademetz, true divine word missionary, your trust in God and love for
a reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Consider your own calling, brothers and sisters. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. Rather, God chose the foolish of the world to shame the wise, and God chose the weak of the world to shame the strong. And God chose the lowly and despised of the world, those who count for nothing, to reduce to nothing those who are something.
And he lived his whole life, with his whole heart, giving himself in speaking the language of love. And you remember that was a theme that we had here at the university 2 years ago. The language that everybody understands is the language of love. And we got that from Josef Freinademetz. That was one of the things that he said. But it wasn't just that he spoke it with words, he spoke it with his life. And that's why we call him a saint. Paul writes, God chose those who are fools by human standards to shame the wise. We heard that in the second reading today. And some would say that Josef Freinademetz was a fool, to go to China where he wasn't really welcome. But he chose to be a fool for Christ. He chose to be a fool for Christ in taking the mission to China. Paul's message to the Corinthians was that, and it was a message that missionary Josef Freinademetz took to heart and put into practice. He wore Chinese clothes. He ate Chinese food. He learned 2 Chinese languages. They gave him the name Fu Shen Fu, which means priest of happiness. But his first impressions were very negative of the Chinese people. And of course he was coming as a missionary, so he was trying to offer them the good news of Jesus Christ. But he had a very negative opinion of the Chinese people. But gradually, even through a lot of suffering, for instance, one time the Mandarin arrested him, beat him, covered his face with excreta from the toilet, and stripped him, and so on. These sorts of terrible experiences that he had, and yet he kept on. He stayed there, and he kept on, and he gradually learned to really love the people.
Trust in God.